All right, let's talk about creative hip-hop kick drums. Now, generally in hip-hop, we have the choice between using sample 1 or sample 2 billion, but we're kind of limited to just going through libraries, and frankly, I hate working that way. I like to be creative, and I like to make stuff, and I even if it ain't as good, I would rather something be unique, although it's always as good when I do it. Okay, so let me show you what I've got going here. What I decided to do here, I wanted to start with a snare drum, and mostly because that doesn't make any sense. And so I took one of the Vengeance samples, one of their hardcore trance European dance music type of snares, and you can kind of hear what's going on here. And this is the kick, remind you. And that just sounds obnoxious to me. I hate everything about that. But the whole plan was to destroy it and make a kick out of that. And again, this is just to get the creative juices flowing and to do something I normally wouldn't do. It was a creative move. So let's turn on Rhino, kick machine here. First thing I did, I wanted to add some chunk to that snare, and I did it with the voice of God functionality, the resonant high pass filter, which I've got other videos explaining that. That's pretty straightforward stuff. You can find it in just about any EQ. We packed it in here just so we have it for convenience. And how this works is we have a high pass filter. I'll show you that. It'll get thin. All right, and now we'll use resonance to actually create a peak right around that the high-pass filter range. And I already know I like it at 125. That's going to give it that hip-hop chunk, I'm calling it. I always like the hip-hop, like the where it goes, boom. Sounds like you hit a, I don't know, hit something kind of low-end heavy. Anyway. Yeah, see, there it is. And now I have the resonance up a little bit, so we're going to pull it back down just a little. But it's an interesting thing using a high-pass filter to boost low end, and that's the whole voice of God premise. All right, now we need to add some oomph. And this is where it gets interesting because that was a direct signal, but now we're going to get crazy. And I'm going to, let's just hear it in standard mode. You'll just hear this 42 hertz thing going. Okay, that's pretty awesome, actually. Usually I don't like that, but for this particular thing, I don't want to go for that exactly. What I want to do is use the dive feature. What that means is we start out with a higher frequency exactly when the kick hits, and then it slowly goes down to our original frequency. So in this particular case, I have the dive frequency at 166, and then I have the tone normal frequency at 42. So let's look at span. I like to visualize these things. And this is before. And you can hear that monstrous low end there at about 42, which makes sense there. And now when I put the dive, you're going to see it start out over here. It's going to go boom, boom. Although it'll be faster than that, so I won't have that sound to it. But and see, it's a big deal being able to start in the mid-range here at whatever it is, 166. And so it kind of goes, and by doing that dive, we can get a lot more apparent volume. It sounds like we're hitting harder. It's a low-mid thing, and it's really helpful. And if we don't do the dive, if we just started out at 166 instead of 142, it sounds awful without the dive. Take a listen to this. I mean, it's so bad it's almost interesting again, but not for a kick drum, that's for sure. So let's go back to 42 and turn the dive back on. Now we can adjust. We still have that original snare going in there, although we have pumped up that low end a little bit. We turn down the oomph dramatically. Let's see what we got. Maybe we can come up with something interesting. It's kind of a blend between these two. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I'm pretty sure it's dope. And more importantly, it's ours. There's no other sample in the world that's out there. And if we needed to adjust this in mid-song, if we wanted to go deeper or go higher in a verse or anything like that, we have that option.